What's up, y'all? I am going to talk to you today about my 3 favorite strength exercises for trail runners. This is going to be some awesome stuff that you can start to incorporate into your strength routine that you should be doing once or twice a week. So let's dig into it. Let's roll the intro. So like I said, this is going to be mostly about giving you exercises to use on your own. This is not so much a routine, just kind of my 3 favorite moves. 1 is a step up, 2 is a specific ankle strengthener and kind of balancing exercise. And then the 3rd one is mobility. Trail runners encounter different things than road runners. We see things like roots and rocks, and we're forced to move laterally a lot. And I'm not talking trash, but there is a lot more going on for a trail runner to run well and strong versus someone on the road. There's just a lot more elements. So let's start with the first one, which is going to be the step up. So the step up is one of my absolute favorite movements. I have my people that I train personally doing them all the time, whether they're a road runner or a trail runner. But they're great for building glute strength, they're great for building knee stability, they're great for building hip stability, and a lot more. So the main takeaways in terms of form with a step up is that you want to maintain good knee position when you do this. And good for us today is going to mean that our knee does not wiggle inwards. So when we do that step up or even step down, there's sometimes a tendency for our knee to dive inwards, and that is just basically us losing control of our knee. And that could also be happening up at the hip as well, and even down at the ankle. So what you want to focus on is keeping your knee right on top of your ankle, maybe a little bit outside, but make sure you're not introducing any sort of lateral movement of your knee when you are stepping up or even on the way down. The next big thing, I mentioned that it's a really awesome glute exercise, glute strengthener that is, but it could also be a really quad dominant movement if you don't do it correctly. So the way that we make sure that it does not turn into a quad dominant move is we do not push our knee really far forward. That can happen on the way up if I jut my knee super far forward and maybe even my heel comes off the ground. And also on the way down, as I reach for the ground with my leg, I don't want to start the movement by driving my knee forward. I want to be able to kind of lean over and then step down, and that's going to ensure that it stays a glute movement versus kind of a quad movement. The ways to scale this, if you want to scale the range of motion, you can increase the height of the box. If you want to scale the weight, this is just something you can do by holding dumbbells in your hands or any sort of weight in your hands. And that is going to introduce new elements that will further challenge the things we just talked about. My general place that I would say to start is try by doing 3 sets of 10 steps on each leg. And then as you get more and more comfortable with that, you can introduce higher boxes or more weight in your hands. So that's the step up. The next move is going to be the ankle strengthener. So ankle strength is a very obvious, important thing for a trail runner because they tend to see a lot of rocks and roots and slippery things and whatnot that can all lead to just catastrophic ankle sprains. And so basically the more strength and awareness we have in the lower leg, the less likely we are to have that kind of awful ankle sprain that could sideline us for a little bit. So at the very core, what this movement is we are just hyper focused on a single leg hop. The single leg hop is very similar to what running is, but when we slow it down and really focus on certain performance aspects, it's actually a lot harder than you might think. So the main takeaways in terms of form of a single leg hop is that we want to make sure, similar to the step up, that our knee doesn't do anything silly. If our knee does something silly like dive inwards when we jump or land, that's kind of setting us up to collapse our ankle, which is going to then not really build much strength around the lower leg. So the best place to start with this exercise is just no weight at all, and also making it a little bit more of a time domain thing rather than a certain amount of reps. I would say somewhere around a minute on each leg should suffice to get a good burn in the lower leg, which is what we're looking for. And then of course, if you want to make it even more challenging, the 3 sets of a burnout was not tough enough, or you feel like you want to increase the challenge a little bit, holding weights in each hand is going to make it really different and a lot more kind of challenging. So holding any amount of weight in your hands is going to set you up to really make that lower leg work super hard. And finally, the mobility move that I am going to introduce you guys to is the side squat. Now what you'll notice as I do this is that I'm holding out a plate in front of me. And now that plate is not so much there to challenge me, it's actually more there to help me. If you try this unweighted, I'm sure you will notice pretty quickly that you want to fall backwards. And that is pretty darn normal, but the weight is there to kind of counterbalance and aid you so that you can get a little more range of motion out of this movement, so you don't feel like you're gonna fall, and that you can get some deeper depth in your squat. So key things to remember as you do this movement, there's gonna be one straight leg and one squatting leg. Now, the squatting leg, you are going to shift your weight over into one leg, keeping that other leg straight. You're gonna sink your hips as low as you're comfortable, okay? Keeping your knee out. And so we wanna avoid our knee being inside of our foot, so we have to kind of force it to push out. Now, since it's a squat, we're going to try to keep that foot completely flat on the ground. So that's the squatting foot. Try not to go up on your toes, and that's gonna be something that you're gonna want to do because of that falling back thing that we were talking about earlier. Now, the range of motion that you're gonna get out of the squatting leg is actually gonna be super determined on the straight leg. Now, the straight leg, you're gonna start to feel that big stretch on the inner thigh, on the adductors that we mentioned earlier. And now what you're gonna do is, as you start to feel yourself getting to peak tension, or the tension that you're most comfortable with on the adductors, you're gonna start to turn your foot up towards the ceiling. So instead of having your both feet flat on the ground, one is gonna turn up towards the ceiling. So the prescription that I would give for someone trying this out is to first start out with about 8 reps, which is going to be 8 each direction, and just see how that feels. This is not something you wanna do very quickly. This is a mobility movement. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna squat down into that leg, you'll hold for a couple seconds, and then you'll come back up. Where's my coffee? If you like this video, let me know by clicking the like button below. If you have any questions for me about any of these moves or any of the races that I have coming up or whatever, let me know in the comments and I will get back to you guys. And if you have not already done so, be sure to subscribe to The Run Experience to get all the latest content dropped right on your computer. See you guys next time.